Hey guys, and welcome back to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. I'm Exterminator, and today I am joined by Gepwin, Crying Shame, and Shred Guy.
Hello.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
And yeah, so this one is actually interesting. Like the last two, I think we can all agree were kind of boring to talk about.
You mean you don't want to talk more about alpha blending and math?
Well, I don't know, not really, to be honest. But this one is quite interesting. It addresses nuclear power as well as a new research, and then like a little side project Kovrex works on that has nothing to do with Factorio, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, don't lie. You've been watching that Twitch part of the day, haven't you?
No, actually.
Yeah.
Gonna be blatantly honest. So, first thing I guess is we can discuss nuclear power. They say it's 90% done.
Indeed. And you keep cutting out for me, Exterminator.
Yeah, me too a little bit.
Okay. So, they say it's like 90% done, but they remove some parts.
Yeah, well, I'm
The
glad
cooling
about that
towers,
because it seemed like it was getting a bit complicated with like 5 buildings that all need to be next to each other and pipes and whatnot. I'm glad they simplified it.
They simplified it, and yet it's still confusing.
Yeah, it's still a bit complicated. I did read the forum like post replies, and quite a few people were, as you might imagine, complaining that it's now too simple. All those people were like, we want it 100% real life. Can't remove all this stuff.
Well,
I didn't see the post.
for sure, people are going to, no matter what, people are going to complain if it's too complicated or if it's not, you're not actually learning how to build a nuclear reactor in your backyard by playing Factorio. So
Yeah.
one way or
Yeah.
not, somebody's going to complain.
Well,
Yeah, you're not going to make them happy, so make it accessible rather than making the weirdos who play Bob Angels happy.
yeah, Shred.
Hey, I like complicated, but I think you have to draw for a general audience. I mean, if you like playing the complicated Bobs, Angels, whatever, there's mods for that. But putting
Exactly.
nuclear into it, you have to strike a balance between simple or relatively simple and Bob's Angels. They can't throw in the uranium power mod
Yeah.
and throw that
Yeah.
into here, because I played that and I am playing and it is
It's a
way overboard, and I enjoy it. It's fun, but I would not say you put that into vanilla.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So
And I was wondering, because this is such a step up in complexity, like how useful is this really going to be next to solar?
well, and that's the thing, right? Like people,
I was thinking that too.
yeah, people are like, well, great, we have an alternative to solar, but it's like, if it takes you an hour to set up one thing and it only produces like 30 megawatts, it's like, I'm just still going to set up solar for all my stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, what does it show here? One reactor running
Like 4 boilers it connects to.
8 boilers?
8 boilers.
Yeah, or 4 boilers and 8 engines.
Right. Now, keep in
Which
mind,
is-
those are Mark II engines. See the different color? They are adding Mark
Yeah,
II
right.
engines.
That's true.
We don't know what the power generation for those are going to be, but
Yeah, with this, they might really scale down what solar is capable of.
I don't know. Have they even
don't think they've
mentioned
addressed it
changing
yet.
solar though?
Not that I've noticed, but I haven't carefully combed through every one of these. So.
Yeah, I hope they don't mess with solar. I hope they just give this enough of a buff to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm looking at the what they call the Carvex enrichment process, and that alone looks a little complicated because you have ore coming in, then it gets split into 2 different types of uranium. They have to sort that uranium, and then you have to centrifuge it to create the cells. It's like,
Yeah, that's
lot of
actually really
steps.
cool because it is like the only time we've seen that they're forcing you to use mixed belts.
Right. Which, I mean, you still don't have to do. I mean,
no, you
Well,
could.
not exactly, but it's like it's like one thing that's going to be outputting 2 different types of resources, and I think
Yeah.
unless I'm wrong, I think it's the only thing in the game that does that.
mhm.
Only vanilla, yeah.
But I mean, overall, like it's definitely complicated. I mean, like you said, Ryan, it's more complicated than most things we have. I mean, I'd say it's, maybe equal to like how complicated blue science might be to people or stuff. But
Yeah.
overall, it actually seems pretty straightforward, right? I mean, they like explain here. We've actually kind of like jumped ahead.
Yes.
They're adding a new ore, and you mine it, uranium ore, and then it just says it requires a centrifuge, and it uses 10 ores. So a centrifuge, you need 10 ores to create uranium-238 and uranium-235, and then I guess the 235 one has a really low probability, which apparently is what it's like in real life.
Yeah.
0.7% probability.
Yeah. And then
So you get almost none of that.
right, but then you
Yeah,
need to
then you have to
combine
mix it
the
all
two.
together.
Right. So specifically 5% of uranium-235 needs to be in the mix of the two. So like 95% of it can be 238, and then 5% of it has to be 235. I think is what they're saying, right? To like actually get
Yeah.
a usable product.
Yeah.
And then I don't really understand, because they're like, there's different ways to handle the problem of the leftover 238 in real life, but they're like using this Covarex enrichment process, which like what does that do? Like, does it just get rid of it?
I think what they're saying is that the Covarex enrichment is like that second set of centrifuges in this picture here on the left.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
take your 238 and you shove it into that, and then it's going to put out a small amount of 235. So it's just a way to further refine it. It's another step that gives you more 235, so you don't have to rely on the 0.7% probability of the other one.
Right. Okay, so
Yeah,
These are
it looks like there's some sort of feedback mechanism where they're pulling off stuff, and I'm talking about the build on the left.
Yeah, the left side here.
yeah,
And it's feeding back.
So this side.
It's then coming back around and then getting put back on, or
Yeah, I would guess that that's the Covarex enrichment. So it's like the first set of centrifuges is popping out 235 and 238, and then they're filtering off the 238 into the enrichers, which is then popping out some amount of 235 that's being brought back in so that they can get the proper ratio for the fuel.
right? Yep,
yeah.
yep, exactly.
So
Which then looks like you take the fuel and some steel and it makes some kind of nuclear battery.
yeah, that's what it looks like. What they're making at the very end, and
I think that's iron.
yeah, iron.
Oh, you're right, iron. I don't know why I always say those two wrong when I'm recording.
Now, something worth.
You're not the only one.
I think we all have done it. Something worth noting too is you'll notice it. You at least for the first process and the very last step, it looks like you are able to productivity it, because they do have
Yeah.
those modules in there, which is pretty important.
They're productiviting the heck out of this thing.
I couldn't tell which things they are because blindness.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah.
There's look, modules.
So we scroll down and you put the nuclear fuel stuff into the reactor, which these are placeholders, by the way, for anyone who for some reason might think these are the real graphics.
You mean we're not going back to rocket defense?
Yeah. And you connect it to like 4 boilers, which then feeds in and then does something.
Yeah,
It's
so
a-
it's
okay,
the heat.
So
They've
this one
changed
gets
the
a little
boilers now
complicated.
for heat, I think. So now the
Yeah.
boilers have a heat input, which is different than the old inputs.
right, and the reactor
Like, now you
generates
have
the
it, like,
heat.
Heat up a thing which
Yes.
goes into the boiler. Yeah, in the second picture here, that's what those red pipes are carrying, is just pure heat,
Heat.
apparently.
They're heat.
Right.
They're heat sinks, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it says for every neighbor
So
reactor, there's a 100% energy production bonus with the same usage of fuel. So I guess like if you connect them, you get a bonus.
So basically,
Yeah.
the way this is working is
Uh.
you have water coming in to each of the boilers, and normally that you would just feed coal into the boilers, but the reactor's replacing that coal need and providing heat for the boilers instead. And then with a little output on the north and south sides of the boilers is where you have your steam coming out, and then the steam will then go to each of the steam engines to then produce power.
Yeah. And you're getting a weird exponential growth of the number of boilers you need compared to the number of reactors you have.
Yeah, I mean, you can see
Yeah.
down here with just 4 reactors, this gets like insanely complicated.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think will be cool, because all the, engineer people, the Madzuris and stuff, I mean, there's going to be builds like coming up with this for like months and months afterwards, just like the most efficient way to do it. It's going to be really cool, I think, to see what people come up with.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be awesome. I mean, 10 minutes after this comes out, they're going to have something 20 times more efficient than this picture. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and one thing I was looking at here is looking at the 4 reactors together, and it appears, so if you look at that picture, you're only getting the bonus for 3 of them at any one time, because only 3 reactors are connected. Is that right? So if you look at each corner,
Yes.
because I was trying to figure out the math on how, because it's pretty symmetrical, and I was like, because each reactor can do 4 boilers plus another 4 boilers for each reactor it's connected to. So if, for example, you take that lower left-hand corner one and you count how many boilers are in that quadrant,
Yeah, there's 12.
there's 12.
12. Yeah.
So then 12 times 4, 48. Right? If they're all the same?
Yeah.
Is that how that's working?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
48
Well, we went
total.
4, 16, 48.
Where are you getting us?
So the top one is 4, and then the next one down is 16 with the 2, and then it's 48 with the 4.
So the question is like, so how does this look with, instead of having 4 like in a perfect square, how does it look with 6? And how does that?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not, it wouldn't be quite double, would it?
It says for every neighboring reactor, there's a 100%. So it would mean that each corner is doubling twice, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah.
So like it's getting the thing for each neighboring reactor. So depending on how you aligned them, which is going to be another thing people optimize, you're going to get a maximum amount. So you could get like a maximum of times 3, because I assume you seem to need one side open to feed fuel in and out of.
Yeah. Yeah, the diagonal one are not giving a bonus to each other, the diagonal ones.
Right.
So,
well, my question would be like if you made a X as opposed to a square, so you have one in the center. Because, well, I guess each one, that wouldn't work because each one has the...
Yeah, you wouldn't be
like
able to
you
get
said,
fuel
yeah.
to the middle. You could
Yeah.
make a T, and then the one in the middle would be getting times 3,
Right.
and each
Well,
other one on the edge would be getting times 2.
It really depends on how they connect. If you just have to have like one tile connecting, you can kind of offset them.
yeah, that's true.
That's
And have
true.
it in the middle.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about how they connect.
Yeah, and like another thing that I'm just thinking, it's like, I mean, boilers, because before you get nuclear, you're obviously still going to have to be able to feed boilers with like coal or whatever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm thinking is, what advantage are you going to have with nuclear? Like, it seems pretty expensive and complicated to set up. It's like, why would I not just do coal or solid fuel like I normally do anyway? Like, I mean, I know it like generates the heat in place of it, but it's like you have to refine all this fuel. It's a complicated setup. It's like, so what advantage am I really gaining from that over just fueling the boilers like normal?
Yeah.
Yeah,
thinking the
I
same
think we're
thing
going to
about
have to see
power
how they rebalance the power, or if they rebalance the power.
I mean, if this last one with the 4 reactors there, if that like completely powers my entire base, then you know what? I'll do it.
Yeah,
That's true.
And that's
Well, yeah,
and that's the
but-
thing. I mean, why do you jump to solar to begin with? Because you don't have to go mine coal. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
eventually,
But
when
now you have
when
to
your
mine
base
uranium.
gets,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
do a
but when you-
complicated process.
but is that a like? I look at it. You build a mega base, and you have so many solar fields.
Yeah,
It's just so massive, and when your base gets big enough, it's like, well, it's nothing to build. To have the bots, you just lay down, Mark III solar fields forever, and it's just a matter of, I got to do this now. I'm low on power again. Okay, let me go blueprint down 10 more solar fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robots take care
that's
of it.
the real question is how many, like this like 2x2 factory thing at the bottom, reactor at the bottom. It's like if that takes up as much power as a like giant solar field, then it's worth it just for the space efficiency.
Right.
but the other
So
thing,
I think it's really just a question of how much power these things actually pump out.
yeah, that's true. And the other thing to consider is the lag too, right? For a mega base, right? Because solar panels and accumulators, they changed it a while ago to where pretty much every solar panel and accumulator, like on your map or that's connecting, counts as one entity.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's true. There's no
steam engines
no
and
lag.
boilers and stuff like that do not. So, and I don't think they're going to change the boilers and steam engines to be that way because I don't think they can. So it's like,
Yeah.
whatever, 10 or 20 of these things, depending how much power they output, sure, it'll be way more space efficient than solar, but it may just lag out your game like steam engines do now if you have enough of them.
See, that's what I was worried about as well when I was reading through this. And if you look at the Discord earlier, I had mentioned that idea of like now time to discuss how much this is going to lag out our games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now I'm actually more excited about this as like a stepping stone thing because they're introducing a new resource and they're introducing new processes, which means that they're going to be able to put in more things down the line. I know like every third comment on any of these nuclear things is when do we get depleted uranium ammo?
yeah. And the thing is it will probably make it so people can mod a ton of new stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
Make uranium ammo without having to use like a uranium mod on top of it.
Mm-hmm. I just want my frickin' mini nuke. Like I've
Yeah.
been saying it since the day I started taking on biter bases. Is I want a thing that I shoot into the biter base and it's gone. I don't care how many resources that takes. I'm just get so tired of taking out biter bases.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought of, because before now, the only liquids they really had in use was the steam, was water and oil. But now when they're adding steam as a whole nother thing, and I don't know whether they implemented it as a liquid or if they actually did it as a gas. Because if they did it as a gas, that might open up a whole new ballpark of things that we can add.
Yeah,
That's true.
and it seems to be a liquid in this.
It does.
Yeah.
Steam guns.
Steam
Hook this
guns.
up to your flamethrowers, and then it just steams the biters, and then it turns into food, and you get like cooked biter.
Cooked
ready
biter.
steaks.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I'm just looking for. I hope this
Replaces
is just something interesting to do, and a lot more space efficient than just laying down massive solar fields. And assuming it won't lag out your game that they've.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
because there's no point if you need a bajillion of these as
And
opposed to a bajillion solar panels.
yeah, I mean, like,
That's probably the reason for the updated steam engines.
yeah, well, they're adding a second level, and that, it depends how much they generate. If they only generate 2 times what a normal one generates, it's actually not going to help that much because you'll still need a huge amount of them to generate like 3 gigawatts of power.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this for a second here, and I was wondering if assuming that you just need to connect them so at least a tile is touching, right? You could get 2, 4, 6 of them to connect to a centerpiece.
Yeah, in theory.
So if that's in theory, if that would be the case, that could be massive amount of power if that is how the connection works.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I would like something like the last picture down here, like you're putting 4 of them. So maybe one. Let's say there's 4. I would like that to take the place of like 25,000 solar
panels.
panels.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it would almost have to.
Because in my mega base, I think I was getting close to 100,000 or something like that solar panels, and it's just like, because it's not a function of cost anymore.
No.
I'm not worried about cost of solar panels. I just need power, and it's boring laying down the 100,000th solar panel.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So hopefully this takes. It's not about conserving resources. I need more power to run my mega base because we got infinite science. So give me something to do that, and I can mess around with optimizations and farting around with all that and ratios and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. So moving on, because we're like
speaking of infinite science.
This is something. Mining productivity research. So essentially, they're adding a research that is infinite. It says it's infinite. And every level adds 2% bonus productivity to mined resources in general. Like just like passively, your miners will have that bonus, right? So I saw a lot of complaints on the forum.
Really?
I saw a lot. Well, not a lot.
Why?
I saw several complaints about this because some people were like, well, I disagree with this because I don't like productivity modules to begin with, and I don't think it fits in the game, and now you're adding a research to do it infinitely, blah, blah, blah. But, like, personally, I'm super excited about this. Like,
hell yes, less outposts.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like, huge. I love this because, A, it's honestly kind of a pain to put productivity modules in, like, every single miner, even if you have robots. Like, I mean, you have to bring them out there. You have to stand there while they put them in. And it's like, it's just a pain and stuff. And it uses modules. And then when you tear it up, you have to take them all out again and stuff like that. But with this, it's like, you research this and you can do it infinitely. It's like, your miners are just automatically going to have whatever, 20% productivity.
That game breaking of a bonus. Like, I just did the math probably wrong, but you'd have to get to like level 500 of this before you double your output.
Yeah.
With the 2% bonus.
And the other thing, right, is it's fixing another issue which a huge amount of people complain about is having to constantly move your mines. And it's like, that fixes it a bit because if your miners are just automatically getting productivity, you won't have to move them as often.
Well, assuming you can still put productivity modules in these.
Yeah, you could even more.
You're still getting.
Well, now you could.
It means less outposts.
Yeah. But now, even with these productivities, now instead of putting productivity modules, you can put speed modules because after a certain percentage, they might actually be a better choice.
Yeah, or even efficiency if you're having power issues or whatever. And another thing to consider is they just say a 2% bonus, right? Like when you put productivity modules in, it slows it down. But if you're getting this research based on what they're saying, it has no negative effect aside from just the research cost. So it's like your miners aren't going to be any slower than they are normally. They're just going to get that passive productivity, which is like huge.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing they've been talking about for ages of giving you a way to like tap more resources as you play, because you get your electric miner 10 minutes in, and that's your only mining upgrade for the whole game.
Another thing I noticed here is the price increase is linear, so the rate of return increases as well because the rate of return is based on percentage, where the actual price is linear. So at one point, that 2% starts arcing upwards in like if you're looking at a mathematical graph.
Which is interesting. And
do you think that it's like a cumulative 2%, like it's 2% on top, or they just add 2% to the percentage that it's like bringing out?
I think it's adding 2%. Like the first one will be 2, the next one will be 4, then it's 6, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
whatever the miner is doing.
That makes more sense. It's just not completely clear.
And I mean, looking at this, it's actually not that expensive. A level 32 only requires 3,200 packs, which I mean,
Of
to
all 5 kinds of science.
all 5, but still, I mean, I guess to a lot of people that's a lot. But I
why would
mean,
you need military science in that though?
yeah,
Doesn't
no
make sense.
military, but still, at level
Yeah.
32, if each one's giving you 2%, you're getting 64%
Yeah.
productivity
Yeah.
at this level. It's like I will gladly pay 3,200 packs for that. I mean, obviously you have like the other researches before it, but still, I mean, this seems like almost too cheap. I mean,
But, I mean, you still got your robots that you're upgrading, right? Because we're going to get infinite like speed, or they keep getting faster, right, or something like that. The robots.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Do
you're
they?
going to be
that
up.
seems like a problem.
Well, I don't know if it's linearly they keep getting, but I mean, you can't get. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to see them flying across if they got.
Eventually,
I
you
mean,
get quantum entangled robots.
yeah, but
Can-
you get they're going to get fast. I mean, you're going to have a lot of things, a lot of moving pieces here
Yeah.
at the same time, where you're upgrading your robots, you're upgrading now miners and how
Yeah.
much they can carry, and so
Your
it's like
damage. Your damage is
Yeah.
gonna be the same thing.
Yeah.
well, maybe that's what it was. Damage. It's not. I thought.
Because you remember how all the upgrades for bullet damage and fire damage, they're gonna be infinite as well.
well, they're adding infinite
Maybe that's what I
robot
was
speed and stuff too, but they're making it
Yeah.
not linear. I think it's like, well, the cost is like
Is it
exponential or
exponential?
something.
Okay.
Like it
Right.
gets
Well, that makes
insanely
sense.
expensive to the point where it's like, yeah, I mean, it just isn't even worth
Yeah.
it at a point.
And I don't think we've seen finalized things on what any of this science will cost now anyway. Like I think they reduced they just announced like reducing how complicated blue science is.
Yeah, and they like
But we don't
gave
know about
like
the other ones.
prototype recipes for the new packs, but you know,
They never
I don't
talked
know
about
if
it,
that's
so-
going to be what it actually is.
One thing that I think that they should add, maybe as a research, maybe as an item or whatever, but robots need a faster recharge time. Like seriously need a faster recharge time.
Yeah, that's kind of the bottleneck when you get
Yeah.
too many robots.
Yep.
Or maybe just have it so they don't need to charge. They're
Now
just all solar
that-
powered. All
That
solar
could
powered.
be an interesting one though. You could have one that where you base some of your things like charge times on how much excess energy your factory has, which would mean that if the nuclear power is so much more efficient, it would give you more excess energy, and then you could just pump more into your robots faster.
Oh, they're fantastic.
That would be really cool.
It's like zap, you're good, go away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're at like freaking like 27 minutes. We really need to end this. I'm sorry. I know my viewers don't really like these longer discussion videos, so I'm sorry, but I think it was a good discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely.
just last, they're looking for an OSX game developer. If you happen to be one, go check that out.
Unless you want to discuss BWAI StarCraft, I have no idea what this was even talking
Yeah,
about.
this is like a side project by Covrex that he's been working on for years. And they it's like bots like play each other in the game, like the AI, and they stream
Yeah.
it, which could be cool.
Yeah.
I might check it out.
It's kind of fun to watch, but
Yeah,
it did remind me that they said they might be putting some controls in later on to let your robots go out and take on fighters by themselves,
that would be
which
fantastic.
I really want.
But yeah, I mean, I think we need to end it in a 30-minute discussion here.
Yes.
All right.
So
All right, everyone.
yeah, I think that'll do it. We'd love to hear in the comments what you guys think on all this. If you did watch all the way through,
Austin.
then congratulations and thank you. But yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It should be pretty interesting. And until next video, we will catch you all later.
Later.
Bye bye.
Grind Shame signing out.